Our conversation just kind of getting into this was a lot of fun. I feel like this is not going to be a softball of a conversation.
I'm in the weeds right
Yeah,
now and
you're
trying
in
to
the,
figure it all out. So
yeah. No, I feel like
zero experience in CPG.
okay, here we go. Live on LinkedIn. No, Amelia, I'm so excited for you. Like, what a fun and exciting place to be in, like starting a business. And ultimately, Kuda's done this a few times. But for a first time founder, it's like, I think, you don't know what you know until you know type of situation. So, um,
Like every time I know something, I have to learn something different.
yeah, I feel like, well, more and more, I feel like you're going to get further and further away from actually doing your actual business. And you're going to be like, oh, now raise funds, now go sell stuff, now go hire people. It's like that's what you end up doing at some point. All right, here. Okay, we are live. It's looking good. Okay, perfect. Um, yeah, so we're here talking about ultimately, like, this is actually our last event from the mentor series. I actually have a bit of a background in CPG, so I feel like I know enough to ask questions, but I have a feeling Kuda knows a lot more and can, like, has also grown to a significantly larger scale than I have. But I'm excited to get into this. And so let me just start off the top. Let's get into some introductions. Kuda Biza is an experienced CPG entrepreneur and brand builder with a proven track record in launching and scaling purpose-driven consumer brands. Kuda launched a meal delivery service that grew to 20 million in annual sales within 2 years. Oh my God, that's amazing. I mean, I knew that, but reading it again, I'm like, oh my God. And managed a $100 million e-commerce division in a Fortune 500 company. He also co-founded a mission-based baked goods company backed by Tony Robbins, Idea Lab New York, and Loeb NYC that ended up donating near 2 million meals to people in need. Amazing. Kuda is also an author, investor, and advisor to emerging CPG ventures, passionate about building brands that blend profitability with purpose. Emilia Rizzuto is the founder and CEO of All Things Elderberry, a WBENC certified women-owned wellness brand rooted in community and clean ingredients. After being diagnosed with Crohn's disease at 15, Emilia turned her personal journey of healing into a mission and making immune support simple, natural, and accessible. Emilia is based in Missouri, partners across Midwest farms to create premium elderberry products from fresh pressed elixirs, teas, and gummies. Um, Amelia, you've done an amazing job of empowering people to actually take charge of their own health. And I mean, I think this is an excited conversation to really get into it, like this junction of your life. Um, I'd like to start off with Kuda. More broadly, not speaking necessarily about Emilia specifically, but like what kind of trends are you seeing in CPG right now from like wellness or even purpose driven brands? Like where's the space going?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing, especially in some of the companies that we are investing in with our fund, is we're seeing cleaner labels. We're seeing smaller portion sizes. People are really paying attention to the portion control. But we're also seeing newer things, right? Where people are discovering new flavors, new ingredients. So it's quite an exciting time right now within the CPG space because that's when you actually identify some of the innovation out there in the marketplace. But also remember, some of the bigger players are not innovating. They're just sitting back, waiting for the startups like Emilia to do all the hard work, build the brand, make sure that there's product market fit,
Mm-hmm.
get the in-store buyers excited, and then once they have momentum, they will
Yeah.
invest in your brand a little bit, take
Yeah.
a equity position, and then once you start growing and they start to see like, okay, here are some of the areas we can come in and unlock some efficiencies, they buy you out. Take a look at Poppy, the beverage brand that just got bought for over
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion by Pepsi. They did a lot of the hard work, you know, building awareness around prebiotic
Yeah.
drinks and all that stuff. And then once they had reached a really good scale, Pepsi came in and bought them. And Pepsi again also bought Siete, a healthy for you snack brand. So again, that's kind of like the trend that I'm seeing where a lot of the founders are going out there, they're finding clean labels, they're experimenting, unlocking product market fit,
Yeah.
and then the big players come in and help scale.
It's an interesting point that you make because it's like the larger companies aren't necessarily making the market, but they will fast follow if if something's like making some traction. So I guess Amelia, I'm kind of curious because like elderberry isn't necessarily like something that's like regularly on anybody's shopping list, or you've kind of like on some level like made a segment here. So, and you've seen some initial success and growth, like you're doing it. And I guess my question is like, how were you able to gain this distribution that you already have at such an early stage with something that like you don't really have Curion insights to say what this market is growing at, because I can't imagine there's many, point of sale data points for what normally these buyers are looking for to bring products in. So how are, what got you sold in?
So actually, I started this company completely by accident. To be honest with you, I never imagined I would have an elderberry company. I was making this elixirs, what I make like an elderberry syrup for myself and for my own health and my family, and shared it with some neighbors. And one of my neighbors said, "Oh, there's this mommy Facebook page. You should post that you're making this. Maybe somebody will buy it." And at that point, I had just finished going back to school for holistic nutrition. So I was already learning about herbs and different ingredients and what they do for your health. I was healing my Crohn's disease. And I said, sure, why not? I was kind of a stay-at-home mom at that point. And so I made some elderberry elixir syrup, and I made a post on Facebook, and 300 people messaged me the first day. And I'm like, wow. I mean, and it just changed everything at that point because I realized people are looking for this.
Yeah.
And I started making it on my stove and doing meetups on a Saturday. And I ended up growing that market. So it went from there where I started renting kitchen space. I got into some stores. I did some farmers markets, just kind of building out that customer base. And eventually, Fresh Time Market in the area has 6 stores. We're pretty saturated with them. So I went in to the local program. I just talked to one of the buyers and said, hey, can I get into the local program? Got into the local program. So I was on a shelf with like salad dressing and, other things that were granola.
I
And
love all of this.
it took me a year going around to the stores, like begging the buyer or whoever I can find in the health and wellness section. I said, can you please move me to the elderberry section? I said, nobody really knows what I am if I'm next to salad dressing and granola, and everybody was saying, no, you have to go through this person or that person, that's corporate. And one day some guy just like, oh yeah, okay, let's go. And he brought me over to a computer and like hit 3 buttons and was like, let's go, you're on the elderberry section. I'm like, what just happened?
Oh my
And
God.
so another year later, I was going around doing tastings at the Fresh Times, and they called us. Like, they called and said, hey, you guys, our numbers are so huge, let's get you rolled into all 75 stores. Which I'm like, okay. I have no idea how any of this works. I did not have a distributor. And of course, they said, well, now you need a distributor, now you need a broker, now you need all these things, which I had none of. I barely had a delivery. Somebody helping me with deliveries. I was still shipping out of my dining room. So that part actually came very quickly, and I actually think almost too quick. Like, I wasn't ready for it. I didn't have the samples, the right sizes, like you were saying. And but it's exciting. That's just how it was. It was like, all right, let's go. 75 stores. It took about 6 months to get loaded into KeHE, get my, everything set up with them, and then get, their warehouse, and there we go.
I have a question. Did you have to just out of my own curiosity, did you have to revise kind of your like pricing strategy with like, because I can't imagine your P&L initially included distributor slotting like I can't imagine from starting at a farmer's market that like the pricing strategy was nearly sophisticated enough to be ready for something like that. Like,
No, I had no idea what I was doing. I luckily had a friend who also had, a seasoning powder that he had. And so, eventually you start meeting people and you start getting help along the way. And he taught me how to build out this pricing, and it's painful. I mean, when you start cutting in brokers and distributors and warehousing space and fees for things you don't even know what you're paying for, I get billed every single month for stuff. I'm like, I don't know what this is. What is this bill for? You
Argue it
know,
all.
it's very hard to argue with someone who just says, "Well, our system says."
Yeah. So
Um,
I have a question for
yeah.
you, Emilia. So you started out doing farmers market, and in the description you mentioned, you then went straight to shelf. Um, did you do direct to consumer? Because you have a website. So can you talk a little bit about your direct to consumer journey and where you are right now and some of the challenges that you're facing from that particular perspective? Because e-commerce right now is actually a channel that you can really leverage to drive awareness with the buyers, right? So, for example, one of the brands that I launched, it was because of our momentum on Amazon that actually got the buyer to reach out because they were like, hey, we're seeing you guys are crushing it. You have so many reviews on Amazon. Why haven't you called us? So I'm curious to get a sense as to, from an e-commerce perspective, direct to consumer, and also the marketplaces, what are you doing and what are maybe the stumbling blocks you've been facing?
So that was actually the second phase. Was most people I think start direct to consumer, start with a website, start there. I didn't start there because I didn't know any better. I just, the stores were starting to come, so we just started working on the stores. Um, and my website just I had like a basic website, and then last July I relaunched the website to look like it does now, and was able to get a full service 3PL because I was also just doing a little bit of shipping off my dining room table. So it's been just a little over a year where the website has been fully launched, and I actually have a full service 3PL that can handle volume of orders. So I'm just building this leg out now. Now the next phase is Amazon. Like we just got into TikTok Shop, and I've set up my Klaviyo flows and starting to do meta ads. So,
So you're doing all of this by yourself or you're working with someone?
well, I have a friend that helps me part time.
Okay.
And so what I've kind of decided that I'm going to do for now is when I need something, I'll just hire the right people. So I found someone who specializes in Klaviyo, and that company is helping me with my with my flows and
Emails.
marketing
Hmm.
and campaigns and all that. So I basically just like I'm going into Amazon as I'm working with Amazon. I'm interviewing different people that specialize in Amazon.
Yeah.
So I'm
Okay.
basically just
So
looking
can
at
I can I can I guide you a little bit
please
on a little bit of things for you to consider?
all of it. Yeah.
So I like the fact that you're now starting to work on direct to consumer. Community and building an audience, especially because your product is very niche, right, is going to be key. Because one of the things I would even maybe go to bat is to say that the key person you might need now is more of like a community manager. Because what you want to do, especially early on, just because of how niched your product is really get the people who are buying it to tell you everything about their story, their situation, how your product is changing their lives. Because if you could do that, you're now able to understand their pain points. So now you can actually use that in your marketing because you said you're going to start doing meta ads. Because now, if you can really speak to the pain points in the ad, your conversion is somewhat guaranteed to, if everything is working. But also, number two, your ability to understand who that target customer is will enable you to then build lookalike audiences in your meta ads that can make your ad spend very, very efficient. A lot of the time, people lose money when they are starting to spend money on advertising, trying to figure out who their target customer is. So, if you can really leverage that community element from the very beginning, it's going to help you to make your media spend way more efficient when you actually do start spending quite a lot of money. But number two, when you go on Amazon, what you actually want to do with Amazon, and this is something for you to think about, is you want to really plan out your launch on Amazon because Amazon, what essentially it is a search engine.
Yeah.
Yes, they sell products, but it's an algorithmic based search engine where if someone searches notebook, the algorithm then says like, hey, there are 10,000 products within our catalog that are notebooks, and out of those 10,000, these deserve to be on page one because when we put them on page one, they convert.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge you face when you're starting out is if you don't have an audience to launch with, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to drive impressions and then also try to drive the conversion of that product on Amazon. Now, the challenge you face is that if you're starting out and you don't have an audience that's going to quickly convert, the data that you're putting into the Amazon algorithm is people going and maybe not converting. So now the algorithm will say like, hey, Emilia's product doesn't convert, so let's put it on page 4. So what I would do, or what I've done in the past, is I focus on building the audience first off Amazon. So really focus on building a really good, high quality database, email, phone number, and so forth and so forth. And then you start teasing them that, hey guys, we're going to be available on Prime pretty soon.
Yeah.
Support us because December 1st is going to be our launch date, right? So you really create some sort of launch campaign so that by the time you actually do go live on Amazon, it's not you screaming on top of a mountain hill and nobody's there, but it's you screaming in an arena with 10,000 of your raving fans ready to go swipe that credit card on Amazon. Because if you launch day one and your product converts and people are buying it, Amazon will say like, oh my goodness, this is a cool brand. For
Yeah.
these search terms, let's put this brand on page one, which will then get you to quickly start gaining the organic sales, which are the sales that are really going to drive your business. So since you're quite early on your Amazon journey, I would maybe challenge you to maybe focus on community building first. Yes, get all the logistics and everything sorted out, but before you turn on the lights, really spend time coming up with a launch strategy. When I launched Nunbelievable, the cookie company with Tony Robbins, before we baked a single cookie, we had already generated over $100,000 in pre-sales. So by the time we actually then went to the bakery and said like, okay, start baking, we had already collected $100,000 worth of orders from customers in our Shopify. And the reason why we did that was because they're going to try the cookies, right, the moment we bake. And as soon as they try the cookies, the next thing I was going to say to them, or the next thing we did, is like, hey, we're now available on Amazon. So not only did they give us the revenue before we even produced, when they then tried the product and loved it, and then we did our Amazon launch, we already had customers who had already spent 100K with us going to Amazon, purchasing the product, which then influenced the algorithm to say like, hey, a lot of people love this. And then because these were people that were already friendly with the brand, it became very, very easy for them to leave us 5-star reviews, which is what you need to really get that social
Absolutely.
proof. So something for you to think about. So anyway, didn't mean
Well,
to
no, I
cut
have a
in there.
question though. No, I have a question if I may to like add into so Kuda because I mean I've worked on not I've slightly worked on some Amazon business when I was previously at Century Snacks. So the brand was like Snack Club, so it was CPG, it's snack products and tahine seasoned items. My point in sharing this is that like, and I wasn't always like in the pricing. I didn't have like I didn't fully own it, but like from a pricing strategy, my understanding is that like depending on how like you're also priced on Amazon, it kind of plays into like Amazon's going to have a big gripe if you're highlighting like these exact same products at lower price points. Although it's expensive to sell products on Amazon, like, but you need to be there, and it's like probably the CPG, just like many others, it's like you're kind of a little bit in the penny business and everything. It's like their cut ends up being it's not insignificant, especially if you're doing the FBA fulfillment by Amazon. So I guess my question to you is like, how or do you have knowledge around like pricing the product also like on Amazon versus how it's also priced at retail? Because I think this is all going to play into how this ends up. Because I feel like what
Yeah.
Amazon can't be more
So
expensive than where you have it in other areas. Amazon's going to be pissed.
Yeah, so that's if you're selling 1P, right? She's selling FBA, you control the pricing. Uh,
Oh, okay.
so, so because she's selling FBA, which is 3P, Amazon doesn't care about the pricing because you're not selling directly to them. But if you're selling directly to Amazon, to the Amazon buyer, that's when they become very price sensitive. In fact, they just automate the process where if they see Walmart selling it at $15 and they have it at $17.99, they just automatically price match. So for her, she doesn't really need to worry about it because she's in control of the pricing. So she
Okay.
can do whatever pricing model she wants. But here's the bigger thing that I want to maybe point out to you is that there are many ways to skin a cat. In another business that I'm involved in, we actually view Amazon as an acquisition channel. So we don't view Amazon as like, a selling channel. We've based our unit economics knowing that we're not going to make money on Amazon. But Amazon gives us a lot of organic customers
No.
that if we were to try to acquire those customers by spending money on Facebook, we would be spending 10 times more. So I would rather break even on Amazon, get the 5-star review from that customer, but there are certain things that we put in our product packaging
Yeah.
that it's a no-brainer for the customer to actually then come and
I've
buy the
seen that. I've
product
gotten those
on our
products.
website,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's all about how you view each channel, and whenever you're building a business, every channel has a purpose, right? So if you're going to Fresh Time, as an example, what's the purpose of you going there? If Walmart was to call you, sometimes the answer is no, because if the purpose of you going to Walmart is going to undercut your entire strategy and the brand you're trying to build, that fundamental question of what is the purpose of us going to Walmart today is a question you need to answer. So it's the same thing with Amazon. What's the purpose for you to go to Amazon today? Well, I'm going to access more e-commerce clients at a much cheaper price than I would if I was to try to get them myself through paid social, right? So that's the other vehicle. One of the things that you mentioned about TikTok Shop, I think that's a channel. If I was you, I would be all over it like a rash, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not just from the affiliate side. I think a lot of brands look at it as like, oh, we're going to get a ton of affiliates to create content for us, and that's fine and good. And when the videos work and it's viral, that's great. But I would actually look at actually creating content myself. So, for instance, have a schedule every single day, 1 hour, you're on TikTok Live. Right now, you need to build your account to get to 1,000 followers. I took a look at your TikTok account before. I think you're like at around 200. So what you want to do is get any and everybody to follow your account, get it to 1,000 so that you can go on TikTok Live and literally just go on TikTok Live and literally just say the same thing. This is why I started the brand. This
I'm
is
gonna go
our
follow right now.
story.
Hold on.
Here's a 20% coupon. And literally just you be the salesperson for at least 90 days. And the reason why I'm saying you should do it as the founder is because now people get to know who you are. They really start to build that connection, but you get to read the comments that people are going to be sharing on the live. There we go.
Go follow.
On the
Go
live with
follow.
you. On the live with you, directly. I'm speaking from experience because I started building one of our brands on TikTok. I went from like low hundreds to over 50,000 followers by literally just religiously going on TikTok Live 30 minutes to an hour every single day. And it literally skyrocketed our brand. We were able to build a sales funnel that turned into a 6-figure business. And guess what? We're not spending any money for ads. It's just
Yeah.
me showing up, spending an hour, saying the same thing, talking to the same people, and, you know,
I want to echo what
attracting new
Kuda's saying
people.
here, though. I mean, it's like, I believe it's probably like, I can't imagine you want to go on camera. I've never met somebody that like isn't already on camera that like wants to go on camera. I would like to encourage you the fact that, like, say you have 200 followers right now, you know what? Maybe no one's gonna say it. See it. So great. Like literally nobody's looking, but I would love to encourage, like, don't wait for perfection. If anything, just go and do it. Like whatever your life is, because honestly, if it gets easier, it gets a lot easier. I never imagined that I would be doing these live events and podcasting on camera. Like there's no way. It gets so much easier. But if you commit like to 30 days of it and just to start, I completely agree with what it will be I think it will absolutely change the trajectory of like the followers and get you more comfortable with it, because there's also a narrative around, I mean, Kuda, you're going into specific like Amazon TikTok shop, but like there's also a larger narrative around like founder led marketing and like that just period as like as a strategy for like amplification. So yeah,
Yeah,
it won't hurt.
and have fun with it, right? We're in October and it's like a week away from Halloween. I would literally just get like a berry looking outfit, right? And literally just that's your mascot. That's like you coming up and having fun with it, showing up in this berry outfit, right? Because these are the things that go viral. Like you get a million views, and before you know it, the target buyer sees it. It's like, hey, I saw this TikTok video. Like it's these simple things
And
that
jumping
will
on the
change your
trends too. Like,
Yeah,
what was it, that water thing with that guy, that athlete? And it's like I forgot what that thing was, where he put like dunked his face in the whatever it
His
was. It
morning
was,
routine.
Ashton Hall.
yeah,
The guy
something
was like
like
waking up his morning routine.
yeah, like literally, like if there would the next time something like that also happens, just like jump on the trend. It's
Just
like,
drink
okay, fine,
elderberry all
yeah, you're
morning.
gonna do that too. It's like,
Yeah, and what I was gonna say, reach out to me so I connect you with my wife because she's really into a lot of these trends, and for some of the brands that we have within our portfolio, she kind of like does some of these things. So she would be a really good person for you to talk to and maybe kind of like guide you on some of the things that you could try. And then the last thing that I would maybe point out is, leverage your town. So for example, you're in St. Louis, right?
I am, yes.
You need to be in Schnucks, right?
I tried to be in Schnucks. They said I'm too expensive. Um,
Okay.
so I'm gonna go to Deerberg's next.
well,
We
let
do.
me ask you this: are you expensive price per ounce, or are you just expensive like? Because I mean, that's also like, I mean, you could either make the package smaller. You can like, there's things that can be done, in my opinion, to like make a price feel more digestible, where you're not actually changing. Like you have certain sunk costs and stuff that you're not really going to change.
Yeah, so I do have a 16 ounce and an 8 ounce. So the 8 ounce is $15 retail, so it's not that expensive. I need to do another round with them. And the other issue is they like to deal with brokers and distributors. So I need to find a little bit of help, I think, of people who already have accounts in with them.
Yeah.
It's very hard as the founder to go in. They don't want to deal with me necessarily. They want to deal with one of the guys they already know.
Yeah,
That's kind
they're
of the
like, because
wall.
they're like, let me just buy 5 things off of you as opposed to one off. Yeah, I get it.
Right. Yes.
Well, so Amelia, if I may ask as well, because I mean, like Jesus Christ, Kuda, with like the amount of information you just delivered, it's like I'm gonna drop this transcript into like something. I'm like, give me all the notes because that's like some good stuff. But also like, uh, so yes to every single thing that like Kuda said, I completely agree. But also, let me ask you this, like, um, what do you feel like your biggest challenges are?
So right now, what I'm learning is that as the wholesale is growing, we had our biggest order from Fresh Time this month, and it was triple what it was last year this month. And this is not even considered elderberry season quite yet. Elderberry is a very seasonal product.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming come November, December, January, as it gets colder and more people get sick,
Yeah, immunity
they're going to
defense
start
type of thing.
going, right, the orders are going to start going up. And so I'm starting to now have to balance money. Where something was costing me $20,000 to do a run, now is going to cost me almost $100,000, and so that's going to be my next struggle. Is okay. So as it's growing pretty quickly, I'm going to have to start funding bigger amounts of
Bigger
inventory.
POs. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
I
feel
want
like
to
you
make
got to
sure I
go
can
on Shark
fulfill those
Tank.
POs. Like making sure that. So it's again, it's just the next phase of where am I going to get the money from? How much do I need to make? How quickly do I need to make it? and I have 12 SKUs. So then I'm like, do I have too many SKUs? Am I killing myself there? Because my idea was like, I want to bring this entire plant into people's lives. The whole plant is medicinal. It's not just about a medicine. I don't want to be a supplement company. I want to be elderberry. And
So
so
let me ask you this. How does your product taste?
it's delicious. That's what we hear the most. It's that out of the elderberries on the shelf, it's one of the most delicious ones they've ever had.
So
And that's why
so
I made it.
so in terms of positioning, are you positioning yourself as a medicinal brand, or you're trying to be a beverage brand?
Neither. I'm bringing the elderberry plant back into modern medicine cabinets and kitchens.
Okay.
What does that mean exactly? And who's your target customer?
So originally, when I started the company, I thought it was moms. That's who was buying from me originally. And then since the last couple of years, I do a lot of markets. I talk to a lot of people. I'm out and about a lot. We're noticing a lot of older people who are maybe watching their grandkids who are, now have no children and are traveling. They're picking us up. And then also athletes, people that want to stay healthy. So even younger kids that are trying to stay healthy. So I've changed the positioning a bit from like, we can keep the whole family healthy to energy protection and immunity. It's kind of like the newer tagline is we can, we're providing energy protection and immunity for your family.
So,
Can
so
I,
what is the use case of drinking it? Well, because you said you're not positioning as a beverage, right?
Yes,
So,
it's
so
not
what
just
is what
beverage.
is the use case for me to consume it?
So the elixir, you would take a tablespoon every day for immune support, inflammation, and what it does is it lowers the viral load in your system and lowers inflammation. So people take it daily for that purpose, or they take it just acutely if they're sick. They take it every couple of hours at onset of symptoms to lower the duration and the severity of their cold. That's the elixir. But then we have tea that you could just drink every day. It's just tea. We have elderflower chai tea, elderberry green tea. We have a jelly. It's just jelly, but it's made out of elderberries. We have gummies that are also a supplement. So I have elderberry honey,
and
which
I see
is
there's a spa line. I'm on the website right now.
yeah, a lot. So you can use the leaf and the flower. So the first one we have is just like a CBD kind of hemp cream that has elderflower and elder leaf in it.
Okay.
So that's the other issue. Like, did I go too broad too quick without, do I tighten and narrow?
No,
Well,
I think you could test, right? And then 80/20 rule, you can then identify, which are driving what's driving 80% of your revenue, and
The
then maybe you
elixir
can
is.
double down on that.
Yeah, the
But the
elixir.
reason why I was asking about your positioning is that your positioning and your target customer should drive a lot of the answers to the questions that you might have, right? So for example, if your target customer, you're finding that it's college kids, who are athletes, student athletes, I think you said. Did you say student
No, not
athletes
student
or
athletes. The
okay?
majority of our, so it's on the shelf it's $28, so it's a little bit of a higher price point. So it's
Hmm.
typically the mom buying for the family or the grandparents buying, kind of like the head of the household is buying for we have moms that put it on subscription for their kids to take to college, like the gummies are on subscription for lots of college kids. So I think it's like the head of the household is buying for the family.
Okay. So the reason why I'm asking is what you can also think about is certain products in certain channels. So you see a lot of big companies like Mondelez, right? The Oreo guys, they do this a lot. So if you go into Costco, they have a certain pack size for Costco. If you go into another channel, they have a certain pack size for that. So let's just talk about one customer avatar, the student athlete. There are these convenience channels like GoPuff. Are you familiar with GoPuff?
No.
So GoPuff, it's an app that a lot of college students use where they just literally, it's like Uber Eats. So think Uber Eats, but it's literally just GoPuff. So they literally just do delivery. They have like these micro fulfillment centers across the country, and you can just go on the app and you can just buy your Oreo cookies and they deliver it to you in like 15 minutes.
It's like Uber Eats, just a different brand.
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah?
exactly.
Yeah.
So for your gummies, one strategy you could do is literally just attack the GoPuffs of the world and say like, hey, GoPuff, this is good, this is whatever, and then that's your channel to drive through. So you can literally have GoPuff be your anchor customer for your gummies, right? And then now you can really drive the volume for your gummies through that specific channel, right? For your Alexa, same thing. You can then really think about where do the grandparents and head of households shop, right? And those could be the places that you want to show up. And also, those are the platforms that you want to show up, right? So if there's a mommy blog, right, that's out there, you would start going and reaching out to those mommy blogs, which actually reminds me of one of the other things that we normally do when we're launching a brand is we create what we call a Dream 100 list. And what this list essentially is for every single marketing channel, I come up with a list of 100 people who have access to my customer. So for example, if my brand is targeting moms, right? For blogs, which are the top 100 blogs in America for health and wellness? Who are they, right? YouTube channels. What are the top 100 YouTube channels for that? What are the top 100 podcasts, for that, for your customer? So essentially, you really think about every single marketing tentacle. Reddit, right? Is there a Reddit community specifically for elderberry? And if
Reddit
it's
is
not there,
great
you
for
create it
LLM.
and you be the, curator of that community, right? Because all you're just trying to do is you're just trying to get people to congregate with you, right? And then you also then identify what are some of the brands that are complementary with you, right? So for example, when we had the cookie company ice cream, so what we started to do is we started partnering with ice cream brands, right? If they had an email database with 1 million people, we do a cross promotion together. Now all of a sudden, I have access to 1 million customers by doing a cross promotion. So that's something else you could think about. So think about what your version of Dream 100 could look like. I would have an intern do it when I was doing it. So for you knowing that you kind of like have staffing limitations, maybe Chat GPT could be a quick, tool that you could use, and then just start getting samples out and pushing some of that product to these influencers, and then kind of like see what happens with that. Is that helpful?
That's very helpful. Yes. And you're right. I do need help. I do
Well,
need help with, yeah.
let me,
Yeah.
because
So just get interns from a university that's local as a start, and then before you know it, you just have a lot of hands working on the brands. And with the interns, you can be very very specific, right? You are only focused on A and B. You on A and B, and you get some hours on a specific task, and you can really move the needle.
Amelia, let me ask you, because you were mentioning kind of like your product mix a little bit ago. Are there, like, and you don't have to share here, but like, are there products that you find that are more just are like either a time suck or that also don't give you like the margins that you're really looking for? And the reason I ask that is like, if there are those products, I think you should cut them, because it's like, not that, could have let me know what you think, but it's like 12 doesn't seem excessive. But I feel like if you have a certain product that like ends up being kind of like your bread and butter, I think it's I think getting rid of certain other things to support that. Like for example, if the lean in for for all things elderberry is in fact like the wellness halo, I don't know if the jelly gets you there. It's like, so if I were to cut anything from like the health halo, I'd cut the jelly. And I feel like if I'm looking at the website, like I love the spa line, but I'd also would say probably, and if the objective is like maybe just, I feel like maybe they can come back, but it doesn't, it feels a little bit like a departure from like your messaging vertical around like, the health part of it. But it's like, for me, like everything else feels like it kind of fits into like the health halo part of it. And if you're, if your lead product is in fact like the elixir, I'd say that there probably is some pricing strategy or packaging strategy, whether it's like multi-packs and everything, that actually could make that very beneficial. I also would say for the gummies, I think that there's like, like multi-pack offerings and everything. Like I could totally see something like that. Like the nice thing about the gummies is I could see some like, like almost like a daily defense thing where it's like, here's a multi-pack that you can ultimately have like at your office take as you go. Like I could see it as I fully could see it as an offering within Costco at a bulk size, but because of the individual pack sizes too, like you maintain a degree of freshness and it still like kind of like feels like it's within the same family.
We do have like a page on the website. It says sets in bulk, and we offer like a flu bundle, and then the daily defense where you get like one elixir and one gummy. Those
Yeah, I
sell
see that.
great.
Yeah.
We love those.
Yeah, I mean, I see this product like it's like in addition to like Amazon and everything, like as you're building up, but it's like I totally see like Costco, different strategy and everything. Um,
Yeah, there's
What, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that I feel like there's proof of concept. Like I've gotten the validation that I need to know that I do believe so much in the success of this brand. Obviously, I have a lot to learn, and like you said, I can't even imagine all these channels opening up, how much that brings in. It's exciting, just from seeing what I see from the small channel that I have.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's awesome.
So let's say you and I were to sit down and have elderberry elixir a year from now. What story would you like to be telling me as to what has happened over the past 12 months?
Well, I would love to be able to say to you that we are fully loaded into Amazon. That's a big
I
goal.
think that's doable, but okay, keep going.
I think
That's easy, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah,
my
keep
goal,
going.
honestly, is for people to know that we exist. I think that we have a superior product. I also think that the more I've learned is that this farming community in the United States is a big deal. So the elderberry as a commodity crop in America is massive right now. They've done a really big push, especially here in Missouri, and it's important for our country. Most of the elderberry is coming out of China, out of Poland, and it's a big deal to our farmers. So I'm really committed to growing that part of the education as well. And the research is showing that elderberry market is going to grow um, tremendously. They're doing so much. I was at the International Symposium for elderberry, and they showed studies from all over the world about how it helps with HIV virus, with flu virus, with lowering that entire viral load in the body, with inflammation, brain inflammation. It can cross the blood-brain barrier. So I would love All Things Elderberry to become a source of education as well. I want people to, when they think of elderberry, they say, I'm going to go to All Things Elderberry because I know that this is the best on the market and this is the cleanest on the market. So my goal
So,
is,
so,
yeah,
so back to my question. In 12 months, what is it like if there were 3 points? Boom,
Market
boom,
leader?
boom. What
market
are the
leader.
three
Yeah,
points?
that elderberry is, All Things Elderberry is going to be the top market leader. We're going to expand into more retail stores, but also, we're going to be the brand that everybody thinks of when they think of elderberry. That's the real goal. And
So,
opening up, yeah.
so let's just talk about that point real quick. Over the next 12 months, what do you think you need to do in order for people to then just talk about you when it comes to elderberry?
I need to be on social media constantly talking, educating on Instagram, on TikTok, like you said, constantly just educating people about elderberry and about the brand. I think that's got to be my number one.
Well, that's one angle. Um, I'll, I'll, I'll also maybe share maybe another perspective for you to think about. Are you familiar with a gentleman called Brian Lee?
Brian Lee, I've heard the name. Sounds very familiar, but no, I don't know him.
Okay. Are you familiar with LegalZoom?
Yes,
Are you familiar with Shoe Dazzle?
I've heard of
An
Shoe
honest
Dazzle, yeah.
company. I'm just looking it up right now too. I'm like, friendly. Yeah.
And what about the Honest Company?
Of course.
So these are three multi-billion-dollar brands that were started by a guy called Brian Lee, but you don't know Brian Lee. Honest Company, you would think of Jessica Alba.
Yeah.
Correct.
LegalZoom, you think, I think Kim Kardashian's dad or something was the guy who
Was he?
was connected. Like there was some top lawyer, and I could be wrong, but there was a
I'm gonna
top
look it up.
lawyer who was like their brand ambassador. And then Shoe Dazzle, it was actually Kim Kardashian. So if you take a look at Brian Lee's strategy, he would go with a big name, right? Someone who's famous, someone who can really then get to like the honest company, for example. Hey, diapers need to be great, they need to be organic. Jessica Alba became that face of that brand, and he was able to drive a lot of awareness fairly, fairly quickly. Now, you have a couple of things happening if you look into over the next 12 months. You have the World Cup coming to the US. So there's going to be a lot of attention, with that. Soccer, or football, as it's actually known, is the biggest sport in the world. Could there be things that you could do that are fun, that are exciting based on that? Women's sport, you take a look at the WNBA, right? US women's soccer national team, how they perform and execute, right? Could there be a world where you're bold enough to maybe even approach them and say like, hey, I would like to
Yes.
sponsor the U.S. women's national team so that, these are all the benefits of elderberry and help a small American company grow. You never know, right, what could come out of it. And the worst they're going to probably tell you is no. But sometimes what they could even do is they can maybe point you in the right direction, or it can just take one player, like an Alex Morgan or someone to like, oh my goodness, I love it. My kid needs this. And then all of a sudden, there's this magic that happens, right? So one of the things I would want you to maybe think about is don't think about how am I going to do it. Think about who. So the right question you should be asking is who, not how. Who can help me make this brand be known by everybody? Who can help me, blah, 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 blah. Because if you think about any big, brand that's out there, the founder had to find some amazing who's that knew the how that enabled them to actually unlock a lot of growth. So there's a book called Who Not How that you can find on Amazon. Read that book. I think as a founder, it might be very, very important for you to start building that mindset, because I think where a lot of founders get stuck is they start thinking about, okay, I need to be on social media, I need to do all of this. How am I going to do it? I don't know how to do it, right? But if you start by asking the question, how can 1 million people see us in the next 90 days? Who can help me do that? Maybe it can percolate some different ideas, and maybe it can send you kind of like on a journey to maybe even identifying, are there people out there that use elderberry that you might not know about? That type of thing that can come in and maybe become a brand ambassador and then just drive the awareness that you're trying to build. Could you create a podcast or a YouTube channel that is now really pushing out that content and you can become an authority? Could you even write a book, right? Like there's so many different things that you could do that can just drive some awareness. But I also think it all comes down from the question you're asking yourself, how you're framing it. Because if you're always framing it from the perspective of, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Your brain is going to be looking for those types of answers. But if you're framing it from, who can help me reach 1 million people? Who can help me do X, Y, and Z? It can take you on a path that can get you to a different answer that can then actually make what seems impossible very, very possible. One of the things that Jackie mentioned is that I started a meal delivery business that reached $25 million in sales in less than 2 years. I was about 23 when I did that, so I was extremely young. And what enabled me to get there was me not trying to think about how am I going to do it, because I had never started a meal delivery business
Oh my
before,
God.
right?
See.
But what I did is I started thinking about who can help me do that. And in my mind, I was like, who is the number one, which brand is the number one brand that can ship and sell frozen food? Because it was a frozen food meal delivery business at the time, and it was Omaha Steaks. So I flew to Omaha, Nebraska, pitched the Omaha Steaks CEO on partnering, and he said yes. Literally cold call type of thing. And once we partnered and we executed, we were able to go from 0 to 25 million in less than 2 years because
Wait.
I
There's
had
a few steps.
identified.
I have to ask because okay. I'm gonna work on like breaking my mindset and not the who, how, whatever. But like seriously, like let's. I mean, especially with your growth, Emilia. It's like, what about like, how do you get? I mean, you have POs, so POs can open up money and everything, but like some money is expensive and some money is cheap. So I'd love to get your, because I mean, based on this conversation, Amelia, I'm going, like my headspace is, I think Amelia is going to be going out for funding coming up. Like that's kind of where I'm going. It's like, but I think again, some money is expensive, some money is cheap. So do we need to be thinking about this, or like what does that look like? Like what does, so Amelia gets out to, or she gets like, she say she's going to be doing Amazon full in and everything, she's got a plan. I mean, Amazon, funding Amazon or keeping that flow and everything, let's call it like, that's probably going to be about like, 5 pallets worth and everything, at least is initially to start, and then the regular flow. But then you also have the inventory that you have to keep somewhere. So like, I feel like she can get to the who's, to where she wants to go. I also think there needs to be product, like there needs to be a little bit of product stability to like keep the product moving and going and like on shelf, so you don't lose shelf space, whether it be like digital or physical. What does the funding part of some of this stuff look like? What, based on what you know so far, and I feel like Kuda, like a decent amount. So like, what does she
Is the
go up for
question for
funding?
me or for Emilia?
Well, I guess I'm asking you. Oops, hold on.
So simple answer is it all comes down to your vision. How big is your vision?
It's big.
Give me a number. In 5 years, where do you want this company to be?
So I calculated that if I can get to 100,000 sales direct to consumer, that's 5 million, which seems very reasonable and not that big of a
A
deal.
100,000 a month?
100,000 sales in 1 year
So
based
five
on my
million
average
valuation, is that what
order.
you're saying?
Based on my average order value, if I have 100,000 sales online, direct
Oh,
to consumer
100,000 orders.
orders, yes,
Okay.
online in a
No.
year, that gets me to 5 million. That was kind of like my first mile. That was kind of my first hit, in my head. And then from there, it would be great to like 20 million would be the next, so I kind of have like created these like stairs in my head.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, the dream would be to be like the next Poppy or the next, like you said, all those other companies that get bought out. Because I know that then the distributors can come in, those companies can come in and then help me expand into channels that I can't do myself. They can bring in their help, or, because Poppy went on and they, went first on with a Shark Tank. That was their first initial help.
Yeah, but with Shark Tank, what a lot of brands do is they just do it for visibility. Some people they go there, they don't really care about getting funded or not. They just literally want millions of Americans to see the product, go on their website and buy it.
Yeah, but then they get partnered up with the people that also can help open up doors and channels for them and get to those influencers, some of those top influencers that may be a little bit of a harder reach for me. They just know they can just call them and say, hey, I got this great
Yeah.
product. Let's
So
go.
so here are my thoughts, right? There are many ways to skin a cat. You could do the bootstrapping, right? Where you can do it the way you're doing it. It's only just going to take a longer time for
It's
you to
huge
get to your
time.
vision, right? So the thing that you now need to think about is what's important. Is time the most important factor, meaning that you want to get to where you're going to get to fairly quickly? Or time is not a factor, you're willing to just do it nice and slow, nice and steady, and then you become an overnight success 20 years in the making, right? Keurig did it, and they turned out great, right? They are one of the biggest coffee companies right now in America. But it took them a long time for them to get there, right? So I think those are questions you as the founder need to determine, right? You also need to also be very realistic with the size of the prize, right? Yes, elderberry is growing and whatnot, but realistically, how big can it be? Because being brutally honest with that answer is really going to guide the type of money you can access from kind of like a VC perspective, right? There's some VCs who are looking at this and saying like, hey, we're looking for opportunities that can give us this type of return in this type of short time frame. But there are also some impact investors or different types of purpose-driven investors who are really looking into putting their money into things that change the world. They don't really have like a hard-pressed, it's patient capital, so to say, right? So for you, you then need to then think about, okay, who am I aligning with? Am I aligning with the patient capital? Or you could be very savvy with your negotiations with your payment terms, right? So, for example, Amazon has Amazon lending. So if you're able to really hit really good sales velocity on Amazon, they can also provide you some funding. Shopify as well. If you
Yeah.
hit certain milestones, they give you
They
some
offer
funding.
me all the
Stripe,
time. Yeah.
yeah, Stripe does the same. So
QuickBooks.
there are certain things that you could do as you're kind of like bootstrapping it to help you get to where you need to be. However, a lot of founders forget that sometimes raising money is not just about the money, it's about the access.
Right.
Some of the VCs already have inroads with the buyers at Target, with the buyers at all these different retailers, because the reason why they do it is because if they've invested in you, they want to compress decades into days to then get you at the right seat. So the way I've normally done things is build the business to a point where you've taken out a lot of the risk or at least answered a lot of initial questions that outside capital might have, and then raise capital so that you compress decades into days and you're able to move quickly, right? And then what that also does is with capital, you can then hire the who's who are really good subject matter experts at what they do, get you out of operating the business and really put you in a very strategic position where you're working on the business and not working
Right.
in the business.
That's part of the
Because
struggle.
there's only so much you could do working in the business, right? To grow it and scale it. Sometimes you're going to need to have someone who just focuses on your marketing, your CMO, your COO who's handling all the logistics, so that you can then work on the higher strategic things. So you're able to do that with capital.
Right.
Without capital, you find yourself being the person going to the post office, sending out the packages, and doing all of that stuff. It's all fun and cute and part of the journey, but if you're now at a point where now you really want to shoot for the moon, um, you're going to need to find ways to capitalize the business in a way that can allow you to accelerate and grow.
I feel like money solves a lot of your challenges, and I
It
think like
will.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think once you have like some of the funding at least like kind of locked in, I feel like it feels like the gas on the fire because it's based on everything that like you shared in prior to actually going live. It feels like you're at a really awesome point to continue with your growth. As we are at time. There's been so like this. I feel like was like a master class like there's so much to digest. Emilia, literally, I'll send you the transcripts too, so you.
I know, and I'm like writing.
Yeah, exactly. I'll send you the transcripts. Don't even worry about it. But before we hop off, I number one, I want to thank you guys for kind of being with me to like close out like the mentor series today. I was actually looking at the stats, and it looks like there was 28 attendees and everything. Maybe not everybody live, or maybe people, but so I'll go take a look. Uh, but I would love to. Is there anything you guys want to wrap up this call with? You guys want to pitch anything? Encourage people to go to like website or sign up for news, like literally whatever goes. Go for it.
Kuda, do you want to go first?
Ladies first.
Well, I want to say thank you, first of all. I truly appreciate, I appreciate everything that you've shared, all your insight, and I'm just grateful for your time, both of you guys. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, Jackie. And everyone should just go to allthingselderberry.com and try all of our products. They're sourced really responsibly, really clean, and they're delicious and really good for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Kuda?
Yeah, it's amazing to be here. I love your product, love your brand. I think we all need to be healthy because if we're healthy, then we're wealthy. So I'm really excited about your product. I think you are on the right path. There's so much growth that you can unlock. So hopefully this session helped maybe kind of like affirm the direction that you're going. but also, secondly, giving you some ideas of things that you could do to scale. And would love to stay connected once in a while to kind of like check in and see how you're doing. You know, I'm involved in a lot of CPGs and see a lot of things. So hopefully those conversations can help. And then for people who are watching, you know, you can just go on my website and shoot me a message. I'm always open to having conversations and seeing how I can add value to people's projects and maybe just having a virtual coffee as well. So that's really it on my end.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. You guys actually stay on because I'm going to say bye to the audience and everything, but I want to make sure our video upload. But thank you, everybody, for joining Idea Citizen today. And oh my gosh, next month, we're going to be doing another kind of tentpole event. It's actually going to be a power down about restorative. I'm sorry, wrong event. That's December. November, I'm actually doing Tech for Good. So we're going to be having conversations around technology to support, just people and social causes and whatnot. So we're going to be diving into that. So thanks everybody for joining us.
All right. So I don't know if you were paying attention to the comments. Someone was saying that